Hello everyone and welcome to The Abundant Life. I'm Janet Benkovic. Today's guest, a lifelong Catholic, joined the Masonic Lodge because of its camaraderie and philanthropic endeavors. Yet, as he rose through the ranks, he became increasingly uncomfortable with its questionable teachings, mysterious rituals, and incompatibility with the Catholic faith. Today, he is going to reveal to us the astounding truth about what really goes on behind the lodge door. Join us today for an important and eye-opening discussion. The rites, rituals, and philosophy of Freemasonry. What is the consistent teaching of the Church regarding it? Can Catholics and other Christians seek membership in the lodge? Is Freemasonry compatible with sacred scripture and church teaching? Here to answer these questions for us and many others is our guest, John Salza. He is an attorney, apologist, radio talk show host, and author of several books, including Masonry Unmasked. An insider reveals the secrets of the lodge. Let's welcome John Salza. John, welcome to The Abundant Life today.
Thank you, Jenna. Good to be here.
Delighted to have you here, and truly a topic that I have been wanting to discuss for about 10 years now, an incredibly long time. And I think you're the man, and you're the one who is going to help us come to a deeper understanding of what Freemasonry is truly all about and why it is not compatible with church teaching. Before we get into that, share with me a little bit about how you became involved in the lodge, seeing that you are a lifelong Catholic.
I'm a lifelong cradle Catholic. I had 12 years of Catholic education. Janet, I really grew up having a strong relationship with God. I never had any theological objections to the church. Yet, when I graduated from law school, I was solicited to join Freemasonry, believe it or not, by many Catholic men whom I looked up to, I admired. I grew up with some of these men. And I had a vague recollection that maybe the church was not okay with this. But during the solicitation process, they all claimed that the church had once opposed European Freemasonry. It has nothing to do with what's going on in U.S. lodges, and in any event, you can be a Mason. And I said, well, I believe these guys. I trusted them. I didn't feel really a need to investigate it further, but I did call my parish priest just to make sure. And he, too, said, well, I haven't really studied the matter, John, but it was his understanding that it would be permissible for me to join. And so I got involved purely based on business opportunities. It was presented to me as a young lawyer that this would be an opportunity for you to network, to have a greater network of business contacts. And so that was the pretext on which I joined the lodge.
Not an unusual one.
Not at all. I mean, that's why many men join it, for camaraderie, for social, and for business reasons. And I must confess, when I was initiated into Freemasonry, I had quite a few spiritual misgivings, and I'll just explain a few of these. And this is what all men go through when they go to the lodge. After you're accepted and there's a unanimous ballot that's taken, you're accepted into the lodge, you receive your first 3 degrees, and the first degree is called the entered apprentice degree. And so a man goes to the lodge, and he's taken to the back room, and he's required to strip down. All his clothes are off except his undergarments, his underwear. And I thought to myself, this is kind of odd, but this appears to be a fraternity, and that's what fraternities do, so I said, fine, I'll go along with it. But then they asked me to do something else, Johnette. They told me to take off my wedding ring, my crucifix, and my scapular.
My goodness.
And I thought to myself, wait a minute, now this is an organization that purports to want to help a man be better in his own faith, and yet they're now asking me on the night of my initiation to remove all reminders of my faith, and that's completely incompatible with what they profess Masonry to be. They said, don't worry about it, it's all going to be explained to you when you get in the lodge room. And as you can imagine, there's peer pressure here. You're hit over the head with this requirement. You have family and friends waiting for you to come out in the lodge room, and so candidates invariably proceed.
And not to mention that you're in a very vulnerable position. I mean, you're almost stark naked.
You are, and I felt terrible about it. Those are the only 3 times my wedding ring has ever been off, the first 3 degrees of Masonry. And after that, they blindfold you. So here you are in a state of vulnerability, ready to receive the truths of Freemasonry. And so, and again, this is what all candidates in the United States and throughout the world go through. And so they escort you to the lodge and they require you to knock on the door 3 times. And then your conductor says, you know, Mr. John Salza, who has long been in darkness and now seeks to be brought to light. And again, here I am reflecting on this as a Catholic. I've only been blindfolded a couple minutes, but this gentleman's claiming that I've long been in darkness. I am not sure what he means by that. Well, when you go on to read what Freemasonry teaches about that, it's teaching you that you are in a state of spiritual and mystical ignorance until you receive the light of the lodge. And so even though I was baptized in the light of Jesus Christ and I'm no longer in the kingdom of darkness, Freemasonry looked upon me as a baptized Catholic to be in a state of darkness.
It sounds very Gnostic in its orientation here. You know, Gnosticism is one of those heresies of the Church that says that through some esoteric wisdom and knowledge, we come to a state of enlightenment, that we are all ignorant until we recognize this state of enlightenment. In Gnosticism, it's typically our own divinity. And it just reminds me of that as you're speaking here.
It does. In fact, Freemasonry claims that as an initiate into Freemasonry, you hold wisdom and knowledge that the outside world doesn't have. Masons referred to non-Masons as profanes. And so, as a Catholic, I was required by the lodge to look at my Catholic brothers who were not Masons as outsiders, as profanes. And it really drives a wedge between even you and your spouse. Here I am, I was divested of all my religious and sacramentals, reminders, and you're required to swear oaths of secrecy under these grisly symbolic penalties of torture and death, never to reveal it. So these are things you can't even share with your spouse. And so there's an immediate division that occurs. They want to separate you from the profane world once you enter into the secrets of Masonry.
So there you are, John, and you know you're in your undergarments, and you've been stripped of your wedding ring and your scapular, and you're standing there and you're blindfolded, and you hear these words, you know, that you've been in darkness and now you're about to come into the light. What happens next?
They escort you into the lodge room and they press a very sharp instrument into your chest. And they say, if you ever reveal the secrets of Freemasonry, you know, you're worthy of the death penalty. This should be the pain and torture your conscience should feel if you ever violate the secrets of Masonry. So they set the tone right away, that this is a secret organization, it's a secret ritual, you can never reveal it. Then they escort you into the lodge, and the worshipful master, who is the head principal officer of the lodge, asks you to make a confession of faith in deity. This is the only requirement for you to be a Mason. A man must believe in God, must make a profession of faith in deity. Doesn't matter what God he believes in. And so the worshipful master puts his left hand on the candidate's head and says, in whom do you put your trust? This is the first test. If you're an atheist, you can't be a Mason. If you make any profession of faith in deity, you're worthy. And so I, of course, professed my belief in Jesus Christ, but if I would have made a profession, let's say, in the Great Thumb, or in Brahma, or Vishnu, or Shiva, whatever it is, the lodge would have told me, and I quote, your trust being in God, your faith is well-founded. Arise, follow your conductor, and fear no danger. So here's, Janet, where the lodge, if this man rejects Jesus Christ and the Holy Trinity, Freemasonry lies to that man. It tells that man that he's still okay, his trust is in God, and his faith is well-founded. That's where the church comes in and says, no, God has definitively revealed himself in the person of Jesus Christ. We must accept that revelation in faith. There are no other gods, and yet Freemasonry denies that revealed truth.
It also occurs to me, as you're sharing here, John, that what we have here is syncretism. What we have here is an indifferentism. It doesn't matter which God you believe in, as long as you believe in a God. And so therefore, any path of religious expression is the same as any other path. There is no one right way to go. All paths are equal, and they all lead to whatever this God of Freemasonry, who maybe encompasses all of these gods, is all about. Am I right, or am I reading too much?
Right. The grand architect of the universe is what Masonry calls God. They give their own unique names for their understanding of God and their own symbols for God. Why do they do that? Because they want to identify their understanding of God as unique. I mean, when you name something in the world, you're declaring that something unique. And indifferentism that you mentioned really is the primary basis upon which the Church has condemned Freemasonry. Because indifferentism believes that all religions are equally valid,